high after the very first map in the series. I was worried heading into the second map of Split, but M80, they had new ideas. They brought out a different composition and a very strong victory with that 13-6. And Dan, we're officially going to a map 3.
And it's something that the casters were talking about. The use of utility for this type of M80 was actually really good. When you look at the composition that they had, sure, you exclude the Sage a little bit, but you look at everything else in the post plan, they had so many chances to create delay, to be very disruptive to what Shopify Rebellion wanted to do, especially on that first half. That 8-4, we thought, okay, it's not too bad. Maybe a pistol, maybe a slight comeback that can happen for Shopify Rebellion, but M80 had a completely different story to tell. And they had some really cool set plays that, as Mensley was saying, we saw from 100 Thieves before, so little ways that they're implementing it in their own way and making it work out. So this was nice to see a good comeback from M80.
It would have been disappointing here in the semis if we got to see something else, considering that M80 has been a team we've also talked about a lot. So be able to see the bounce back, especially after that first here, Ash, I think was really, really good. This is a little bit more of the M80 that I want to be seeing. And sure, Shopify Rebellion Black, they were definitely shooting back at some point, but it was just M80 that had a little bit more of those ideas.
Yeah, you could really tell that they had a set plan coming into Split, and with a lot of those combinations that both Vance and Dryad were talking about. And I think it also comes down to, again, we were talking about how it's a bit of that information game here, their lack thereof, and a lot of that having to do with, okay, how are we going to pressure points across the map? We saw, honestly, this mid wall getting more value than I would have wanted to see. This is, like, no shade to Bao, like he did pop off, but he shouldn't have been getting so much value from a mid wall. And I think that Shopify Rebellion Black gave it too much respect at times, playing a lot of contact plays, but then that also meant that it was staying up. It was allowing M80 to have that passive and mid information and allowing them to kind of focus more on those extremities. And it made it a lot more difficult, I think, for Shopify Rebellion to open up ways to adapt throughout each round.
We saw so many rounds where the wall was just going down. I mean, the team was comfortable waiting for those couple seconds until it went down. Then they went through that mid to be hit more often than not. But I think a point that changed everything was the Shopify Rebellion winning the second pistol, and then on that round right after, it's a crazy play where Okeanos is able to steal a Bulldog, then gets 3 into that round. All the kills happened so fast where we didn't even know how that played out. But then it seemed like it was just momentum that they were able to gather towards the end. There was a very clear understanding, too, of how they wanted to play these retakes. They were giving that space to Shopify Rebellion Black on that B side. They were waiting for the salvos to come in towards heaven, and then they would go for the hit. It was very overwhelming. They were flooding so fast, and there was nothing and not one comfortable position that Shopify Rebellion could take in the post plan to close it out. So that's where we start to see the differences and the clear and very good preparation from M80.
Yeah, I think that you look towards the composition from Shopify Rebellion Black. We knew that there were going to be some more of those contact plays, but when they were playing so slow tempo in the beginning of a lot of those rounds, or even looking to cut noise and re-hit, it was also just M80 did well, I think, for disrespecting some of those lurk smokes as well, denying any of that value from the toxic screen that Spaz was trying to throw out at times, and that passive information he was trying to keep from M80. And with the fact that SRB weren't pressuring M80 early on in a lot of those rounds before actually going for those executions, it meant that for M80, players like Okeanos were able to save a lot of that utility for that stall, those salvos to come into the late round when SRB were pressed for time, and the combinations he was able to throw out there into the server with Caillou.
When we talk about this shuffling around that M80 has had to do, Okeanos is always one of the first people we talk about having to go into this flex role. But what was also highlighted at the top of day, Dan, is he's someone that even when we do get to see these different looks come out from him, we haven't seen a negative impact at all in the server, which has been really impressive.
I really, really like to see Okeanos play. I think he's friends with a lot of the players in the scene, and for a good reason. This guy is always fragging out when he's playing ranked. I always see him go insane, but also when you see him in matches like this one, you can see the impact that he has. And we talked about it right at the beginning. He was only playing that duelist because he had to, because Sato was not here, and now he's just able to flex into anything, and he looks very natural playing anything, especially with this Tejo. I think is really impressive. Ash just talked about it, how they play around with this tempo. Teho, and now going into Haven, I think it's a good way to close it out for Okeanos. And I mean, well, we'll see who will win. I don't know.
I do not know what to think anymore. Haven, the last one in the series. Ash, I would love to know your take on this, because when we see Shopify Rebellion, it's been up and down with the map, but the last appearance, even though it was a bit ago, was a really, really strong one. We haven't seen as much for M80, but it also looked really good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty interesting because for the likes of Shopify Rebellion Black, they're one of the few teams that is actually running the Neon on this map. But as we focus back into this composition from the last time that we saw M80 play on Haven, again, this was when Okeanos was back into that duelist role. We haven't seen Sato be fulfilling that role here for M80. I'm curious to see if their approach to Haven is going to change for that.
I feel like it'll definitely change, just like we saw on Split. You bring the star duelist, you want to change how you want to play around this. But what is really interesting is, yeah, now that we're going back, or we're going into this Haven, this is a very, very similar composition to what we saw from Shopify Rebellion on Fracture. I mean, the composition is essentially the same. The only big change is playing the Omen instead of the Brimstone that we see on Fracture. So things are going to remain the same, and we can expect a lot of the synergy plays, the synergy between the utility for these agents to look similar as it did on that first map. So that could be a point of concern for M80. I want to see what they're going to run. I feel like we're going to be going for something standard, just letting Sato play probably the Jet. It's my guess here, but I don't know. They can do anything.
Yeah, since it has been a smidge since we've seen these two teams, there's definitely is this room for possibility. And the fact that M80, they had to make some sort of change on Split considering their results, but they going for something that was quite different than what we've seen in the past from them. I'm definitely intrigued if we are going to see a little bit of a swap up going into the agent select, or whereabouts that's going to be. But even outside of the agents and everything else, I still think that Shopify Rebellion Black, even dropping that last map, there was a couple of hero plays coming out from M80 that have me a little scared when I look at the third map in the series. I definitely think that, Ash, a couple of these rounds were a little too close for comfort. So if it isn't a change up with the agent or an advantage there, it could even be in the server that way.
Yeah, definitely could. I think you talk about some of those moments and everyone thinks back to like that shorty play on Split from B-Dog, just being able to close that round out when it looked like everything was going wrong on that post plant there for the likes of M80. But okay, it's going to be the Neon head-to-head here. This is something that we have seen Sato play on Haven in the past, but he's definitely had the most reps on this Jet. I'm really curious to see how they're going to look to set him up on these deep lines and how this difference in timing and rotations is going to go head to head.
This might be one of the only matchups to this day, right now, where we have a Neon versus Neon head-to-head in Challengers. This doesn't happen very often. We've seen a lot of different compositions. We've seen a lot of duelists being played on this map, a double duelist even, but then Neon versus Neon is just something that we don't see as much. A big difference here is going to be BCJ is going to continue playing on this Teho, who has been pretty good, and Okeanos is going to be on the Sova instead. So you're looking at the differences of information that you can gather for both of these compositions that are, honestly, both of them very good.
I'm excited to see this little swap up, and we haven't seen Sato play on Haven. So to bring out the Neon here to versus Paint, who's been looking so good so far in the playoffs, is an exciting one. This is the third map of the series, an opportunity for a team to find themselves in the upper finals. Let's see who's going to come out on top as we head to Haven and to your casters, Vans and Tenrit.
Thanks again, Sierra. Well, M80 has once again brought something new to the table, and with Shopify Rebellion Black continuing to close the gap round by round, they simply must. This is a dangerous Haven team. It's a dangerous every map team. Can M80 beat the odds that were set against them in Fracture, Vans?
Gonna be a fun one for sure, Tenrik, because you're looking at what we were expecting was supposed to be a duelist difference, but now it's a initiator difference between Okeanos and BCJ. So I'm expecting now with M80 having a Sova instead of a Teho to allow for them to flood a little bit better and get a lot of value off the recon and fight within smokes. And this is something that's going to be good for the composition for M80, just because Sato's good with the agent as well. But the opener still goes on the side of Shopify to start.
Now Okeano's a little isolated this time watching the lane, and Paint's just gonna run to him with 20 HP remaining. Shopify Rebellion will set up shop on this A site nice and quickly. That's how they'd like to do that a majority of these rounds. M80 quick re-entry though. Sato good for one on the slide back. Pancakes extending for 3. And Caillou the only one remaining here on the defense in the 1v3. Aftershock available, blind available, but no longer a life. Shopify keep 3 standing for the pistol.
I guess that for M80, they weren't expecting how quick it was going to be for Shopify Rebellion to execute towards the A side control out towards the long. And as they were trying to flood back in just to not give a chance for Shopify to set up here in the pulse plan, a couple of them got caught off guard here with Pancakes, who didn't really get affected by the util and flashes coming out from M80. And you see it already from the radar. The amount of smokes that came through from all the Omen smokes. And then you have the paranoia and flash, and you're trying to capitalize here on some information, but unfortunately, none of them of Shopify Rebellion were hit by that, and they're able to score quite early and now play the anti-eco, expecting potentially some sort of a walk down towards middle, so all of them are staying back towards that spawn. So that'll slow things down for a bit. And as you're forcing util and now players to walk out with a minute left on the clock, this is where it should still go by in favor of Shopify.
Yeah, not too many opportunities that M80 will get to try to take over this round, but we'll see them start to look for one as we hop up into the window. Awfully close to a member or two of Shopify at this stage is B-Dog, as he'll get fully implanted right next to this trap wire. And no one's gonna check for him just yet.
An easy into the gamble to go back towards the A side.
Smoke
But
on
then
top of it as
unfortunately,
well.
because of that, everybody goes in towards the C side camera. Yes, it pings players, but it would have been better if Val just saved onto the camera, not ping anybody at all, because it would have been a beautiful piece of util to utilize on a retake. Try to do some damage, but looking at the positions now, Tenrek, it just seems like we're trying to die to Spike and not give any orbs at all here for Shopify Rebellion Black. So you understand now why the camera came out a little bit earlier for Bao.
Right.
Just to try to make sure they spot nobody pushing in towards the spawn. And it should be a safe 5-player falling down unless Shopify wants to gamble to push towards the spawn.
Well, no member of Shopify will go hunting this round, it seems. Everyone will go ahead and duck back, and M80 will kindly take the offer. So
Before we
2-0.
hear the 5 booms from the salvos.
Right.
Sorry.
Of course, yeah. We gotta make sure we get all that said and done. But yeah, I mean, coming into this bonus, that was just a one and done gamble for M80. So again, not too much counterplay we've gotten to see from them so far. But Shopify, I mean, they're entering this map with just as much speed as they did the previous 2. So no letting up for either side. That is mandatory.
We'll leave this to you, Tenrek. It looks like it's going to be quick again for Shopify. Things already coming through for a fault line across the map. So taking control of A main is staying in the game.
Oh, Paint. Recon bolt in his pelvis and still sticks one before getting trounced. That'll be nobody breaking through just yet, but a neon for neon, so M80 will also have a tough retake game if Shopify can find a vulnerable site. This bonus round will be very suddenly within reach.
On even playing fields, both duelists falling down and camera now being thrown towards the sewers. That could be a tell for Okeanos that Shopify Rebellion might be given up here towards the re-hit on the A side, especially if they also heard the trips are being thrown by Pancakes at the front of A main. So BCJ, yeah, is still going to try to sell a fake here to try to keep players at bay. But this should be easily read by M80, especially with that forward camera that Bao placed down towards that front C site. He might try to go for the hero play. He's got cages to try to fight with, right?
Paranoia to flush him out, and that might be too much space that he's, comfortable for. He's still peeking, though, and Spaz will punish. Big opportunity lost here for M80 to claw the round at. And Spaz on the box for any close peekers again. Fun setup for the slow take, but the salvo will stall it all away, and now you can set up just however you want if you're Shopify. Spray through the smokes willy-nilly. And no one can enter through the garage either. M80 will get timed out again here.
And that's a small little mistake coming out now for Bao. Again, it was one of those moments where you had to fall back. If you're already going to give up all that space and you can't really jiggle back towards that spawn, you have to hold that spot. It's your responsibility to cover up any types of lurks towards the top of the B site. It's for you to your responsibility to see if anybody's going to try to push up towards the garage into taking control of the C-Link and try to hold it so that your teammates can rotate across, and then you can go for the flood retake back into the site. Again, because I'm looking at the setup, you should have some cages into the site, which would also help for the flood retake for M80. But as soon as he falls, that just foils all the plan here for the side of the defense to capitalize on a round, or attempt to capitalize on a round. And with the 3 rifles that they save, they buy a Stinger and a Guardian around it, and still trying to fight towards main.
Yeah, just a real tough lack of utilization so far for M80. That has cost them dearly so early into this game. And that should terrify them after what's already transpired today. Stepping through B main, stepping through garage. So far, so good for Pain's escapade, but not for any others. Spaz can at least trade out Caillou's first blood for M80, but
cover going out.
We'll at least get Pain up through garage, and that'll be able to manage everybody trying to come onto this B site that Shopify will now condense upon.
I know where the last guy's at. Easy plant for B main. It's both initiators alive. Difficult for Sato, but at least he scores one onto BCJ.
Quick clear, but it costs him the stun. He still has his fast lane to at least get a free half. But they'll spray right through and already knock him down to 10. Goodness me.
And it's a one-way throw too, so very difficult for him to retake after that. You're going to have to count your losses one more time. As you see Sato falling back again, the overlay shows everybody's still alive, but it's a 2v1. Still will be a 4-0 scoreline for Shopify. But I was going to say the beginning of the round here, Tenrik, where we talked about SRB fighting towards main again, but there's different types of little tweaks that they're doing in terms of how they're taking over this site. Earlier on from the pistol round is just Paint going all the way down, getting the first kill. Second round, same thing, killing Sato on the right side. But in the third round, they go for a flash and then the smoke, making M80 think that they're taking sewers control. So you're keeping so many players out towards the A side, starve for information because you've already used your recon dart at the very beginning. You kind of don't want to use your drone right away. And then they pull back into an instant walk up towards middle, smoke into 2 spots with a drone. They break chips on different spots, and then you don't really know where to look at on the side of the defense on M80, and you kind of get caught. Sorry, everywhere, and just every different angles, and you can't even play the retake because of how inserted Shopify Rebellion Black have been here on the attack side. Right off this round here, the drone to follow the trip, the push towards the C side, the rate pivot back towards the B. This is looking like Fracture all over again.
Yeah. And a very chameleonic attack as well, in which not only are you able to utilize Paint as that pin missile to get onto the site, but a guided one to go hunting once you've actually taken it. And with Shopify being able to parse out that B space so convincingly, they could implant Paint any which way he wanted to go. That kind of freedom can be afforded to him the remainder of this half. M80 have to have consolation after consolation to deal with him. And that's not what you want for a duelist that's driving the entire attacking force of the squad that's trying to beat you. So, what is the plan to fully stop it here? Do you ball up even harder? Do you go for the retake even swifter? Do you... I mean, do you economize somewhere else? Cut the budget on a site that you know that Shopify's not favoring and just play reactively? There are so many ways to approach this, but none feel all too strong. Shopify get a free C site.
We're just waiting for the rotate back for M80, and this time Bao stays alive, so that could help for a bit. But look at that forward trip from Pancakes. It's going to be difficult now for M80 to start flooding back here. They might hear it when they move through the chaos. Might not even be able to cross that line.
Blinding.
Yeah. Feels like a velvet rope right now for M80. They can't have any excuse to get past it. Has to come from Garage. Sato does crack open too, but yeah, this front half of the site has everything covered, and we have still forgotten about that velvet rope. So that'll be another round for Shopify.
Trips over it too. An easy kill for Shopify. And yeah, you're asking here, Tenrig, what could they really do for M80? Because so far with this comp on their side, with the Neon, we've seen a lot of teams with Neon Breach just trying to take control of the A choke at the very beginning. And as you conditioned so many times in the first few rounds for Shopify's side, the amount of hits and control that you're taking there, you're now using a lot of util, but then you're not pushing enough to really close out that lane. So if you're not closing out that lane, you're still trying to play reactive. And if you're trying to play reactive, you're giving way too much space for a Neon, Tejo, and Breach on the other end to get an open site and to play double initiator post plant stall while others are on site just hitting shots. So I think for M80 side now, you're just going to have to start fighting forward into different spots. But with that said, though, we're going to have to take a slight little break just to fix a little bit of our technical difficulties, and we'll be back as soon as possible.
The conspiracists were right. We were in fact trying to shroud how good SRB have it right now. They are 5-0 instead of 3-0 on Haven. We have fixed that. And yeah, nothing really standing in their way just yet, Vans, except maybe a Sato ult this round. We'll see how far that gets them if they choose that.
I don't think far enough. I don't think far enough. The rest of them are just on pistols too, so it'll probably have to be saved in the next round. But again, I think the silver lining is M80 starting on the defensive side might be a little bit more difficult. Oh, they're going for it. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, and he jumps with the window. It's instantly shut down by Spaz. Yeah, very ballsy. Hey, it was all a tool to get Caillou up sewer to grab the one.
Paint to do a marathon around the world.
Yeah, he has made it all the way around. This guy, by the way, a statement piece throwing away that Vandal instead, having that stinger upon the ultimate. Let's see how much he gets to actually ego, though. There's one. And that is as free a seaside as you can get with a little bit of disrespect sprinkled in.
Yeah, and I like it, though, with the Vandal being thrown out, because if he was going to run by himself just to try to scout information like a Yoru clone, or a Yoru ult, rather, and he loses the Vandal, well, you know what Okeanos could do the last time that he picked up a rifle from the hands of SRB in an eco. They want to make sure that they convert into the round. The smoke dissipates, and the last two players are going to be Dunzo.
Fantastic work done all around. Checking their sixes, both physically and mentally here, and continuing to pay that respect to an M80 that can be strong at any moment's notice. Just any time now, they could be strong. Anytime now.
And I was gonna say the silver lining is the ults that should cycle up here in this round or the next, right? We talked about the overdrive. I thought that was gonna be saved at some point, maybe to try to combine it with Okeanos with the Punch's Fury, but instead they wanted to try to go for a trap play so they could opt into this round and try to get that lane, and that's their answer into how they couldn't hold the control of the A site first. So this will probably force a drone early from Okeanos to make sure that they clear out towards long A, because that smoke being thrown on the attack side is going to make it difficult for M80 to really get the right information. So there's that drone coming out. It should confirm now that nobody's here towards the A side. But now that Sato gets smoked out, this is such a good utility play by Shop for Rebellion Black, because now it's M80 that's starved for information for the second time. And they might have to use a dart instead of using it for the retake. He already used it, and he still gets no information. And Pancake steals the upper! Oh my god, dude!
Yeah, every step of that went wrong for M80. Finding nothing out of it. And it's not like M80 did anything wrong there either.
Nope.
Except, of course, not hit the op shot. Poor Sato. Still a world of work to do for him for this M80 team. But the rest of it will make their way back to this A side and do what they simply are forced to. Aftershock forced to force away Spaz. He can actually dodge it, and Paint's just sitting in front of this link. A well-oiled machine continues to run with no breaks. Except maybe a little bit here if Paint gets too big for his britches. The man was on like 10 HP anyway. And yeah, his IGL's got that covered.
And he's just trying to save his weapon if he can. A fade TP and holds it back in front of the B site. Should be able to. It's still B-Dog of all players, right? He used to be a duelist, so in these situations, in a 1v1 duel, he should be fine. And silver lining for M80, but a 7-0 start for Shopify. I think that was what we started on the first map, no? So we were talking about a Brazilian scoreline, and then usually that should be the case. But now that you have double ults on the side of the defense, they don't have money to work with. They can't buy on top of that.
I believe it was that.
And sorry, Tarek, I was going to say that should have been the moment where the overdrive would have been good here to try to combine into like some sort of hero trap play with the last rifle that you have.
Yeah. I was going to say, it was actually 6 rounds that M80 needed on Fracture, so we're already beyond that threshold. But, yeah, this consistent indecision that M80's been forced into has just been suffocating to watch. And it'll continue to be with the gun diff now persisting. B-Dog, bit of a free shot. Can't lock it onto the Neon. Unfortunate, as the agent continues to still be a nuisance despite the nerfs, especially on a map that these two duelists in particular can utilize it so beautifully. Still, again, so much respect paid to this C site for the insertion as they'll use the Armageddon and put the spike down as the Watchdogs continue to linger.
And it's understandable. A lower buy here for M80. Just trying to go for hero plays with the Chicos or the pistols that you have. Silver lining, 1 kill. But it doesn't help into the final score, the final line, which is the scoreboard now 8-0. That's basically the digits in the logo, but for the wrong side. This is tough. This is definitely
M08,
tough.
bro.
This is definitely tough for the side of M80. I think it might be those situations once again where M80 might be forced to call out both timeouts in one half just to try to salvage something here. And I respect it. I will talk about it in a bit because SRB are looking to just not stop. They're about to move down very quickly towards the C site. And maybe during the timeout, we could talk about the compositional change for M80 going into this third map.
Yeah, whenever M80 decide to use it. Throw the Rolling Thunder just to insert paint. That's what it was for all along. And I'll get rid of all of this util on C site. Shopify now reconsidering how clear that site is. And with Pancakes now the one inserted on the window, Shock will hit him pretty easily though. And so Shadow will deal with that swiftly.
Oh.
That's an extra insert.
He got one.
He could have gotten more on, but yeah, he will. he won't completely fumble the bag there.
Still fair advantage. Paint just saw Sato, so now they can just play time. Look at that lurk. The reflame coming out though from Monsi. Oh man, the reads coming out and the manipulation that comes out of this team. They're gonna double flank on top of that.
Completely avoiding the Rolling Thunder. Yeah, completely undetected. Caillou is he gonna check this twice? He might be
won't.
terrified enough to. Oh, absolutely not.
I do prefer when they
And it's just beautiful micro plays. It's just a small bait because you already know that Paint was there, right? He was spotted by Sato.
Right.
So he goes for the backstab, gets the kill, and then there's not going to be an instant double swing because you're playing the time off the clock. And now that he sticks the spike, BCJ doesn't need to swing. He's just going to wait on Monsi's call to say, wait, he's sticking it or he's not sticking it. And now that you realize that he's trying to get it at half, Monsi says, I have the timing. Let's double swing, a wall bang at the same time. Easy kill. And an easy 9-0 now for Shopify. Dude, there's, once again, unfortunately, no answer out for M80.
Let's see if we can keep it going. Paint's turn to let the overdrive go, and he will find so much more. God, it's like watching a stallion run in an open field. Here he goes, 3 kills down.
Full line assist. Oh my God.
gun here.
What do you want to do? What can you do?
What are
Goes
you
back
gonna,
towards A-Link to kill B-Dog too? Dude, come on, Paint.
Give it to him, baby. Let's see it. That's terrified. Yeah, buddy.
All done. Please don't hug me.
Oh, it's so beautiful to watch a team come together so well. And again, so much of it has to be attributed to Monsi. I know occasionally he's probably just saying Paint go kill. I know that's the point that we're at. That's the stop we've come to. 21-5-2, nothing to scoff at. But the way that this man has just been able to continue herding M80 into these chokes and just chomping down at the bit, the moment the going gets tough, it is so enticing. And I'm so ready for the Shopify squad this year, man.
It's insane. And when we talk about the conditioning, so they go for the fault line. The Neon's already moving forward, going for, I like to call it the credit card strat, because you're already making noise, jumping around and faking that you're doing a lot of footsteps and control towards the A side, and you're hoping to pull rotates on that site so that Shopify Rebellion can start moving in and leading towards the C side. But it's not, M80 doesn't bite to it. They actually walk down middle instead, and it gives them actually a great advantage.
I have retrieved the spike. I have dropped.
This is already a lot for Sato. We'll see if he sticks on it. It's playing in house. Stealth drone catches Bow. He can't shoot it down. That's not prepared for B-Dog though, so he can at least play some defense in tandem, and that'll play some sufficient keep away, but Spike's already made its way all the way back over to A site with no one from M80 able to intercept it.
Force a TP on the C side. It's double pumps back towards the C site, or back towards the A side, sorry. Now you're forcing M80 to play the retake, where they don't have too much util left after this owl drone. They can recon flash and hopefully get some spam kills. But you're already set up at a post plant now for Shopify.
They're hungry for it too, maybe a little too much. Sato can get in front of it, but everyone else, not nearly as much luck. Bao heading up the rear. Entry from Heaven is still available from Okeanos as well for this 2v2. Very much doable, and Okeanos' drop down is perfectly timed.
That's communication out of Val and Okeanos working together in tandem just to make sure here that they could win that 2v2. There was a slight, the first, I wouldn't necessarily say overheat because, man, respect, it was 10-0 at that point. So the slide towards that spawn and the amount of times that you're just holding W and high gearing and getting kills, Paint goes for that attempt to take down Val towards that spawn and finally gets stopped. I mean, the man is 22-6. The value that he has on his Neon to run around is huge, and they never expected to drop down from Okeanos towards the end. So, pivotal round, at least a start for M80.
But a far cry from decisive, which M80 still are searching for on this defense. And they're not going to get in front of it early on. Caillou, he's searching for something to get its way into garage. It looks like Shopify really wants to take control of here for a C crunch. They understand how much respect M80 is going to pay to this and what they still have to offer. Sato could pop out with this overdrive at a moment's notice, and he's staying back to make sure that they can't grab intel on him.
Cover going out.
I like this though, forcing yourself out to get pinged. Because look at the defensive side now. Sato's leading in towards A, and now they could start walking in towards the C site. Just little plays, little mind games coming out for Shopify Rebellion. Here comes the explosion with the Armageddon.
Both members of M80s able to stay safely on it, but can't manage everything at once. Luckily, Caillou is able to get in front of it first. Grabs two. Now comes Sato's time. He can only get one with this overdrive. So 2v2 on site. Shock Dart will not connect onto Spaz either. So solid health pool to offer for this post plant that Okeanos is already ready to fight for. B-Dog, though, has to take a little more time. And Shopify is going to try and feast on the one. They will.
Oh.
But a lot of damage done on that lineup. And so if B-Dog can find just a couple easy shots. But again, Shopify is just too quick to the punch. Already sussing him out with the shots and getting right on top of him. B-Dog gets up and manages one. Spaz skirting back through inside the smoke with Shorty in hand. And now ducks back out. The back of his head spotted by B-Dog and M80. Come away with a second round this half.
And that's another clutch by B-Dog against all odds again. Beautiful. And that's cerebral coming out from B-Dog, because it's one small whiff from a player coming inside the smoke, and he takes full advantage of it to win two individual 1v1s. The timing on Spaz jumping in and him coming out and not trying to swing back into the smoke to try to just win and surprise his opponent, he plays also the time in his favor. Very, very smart once again by B-Dog. It doesn't matter how far behind you're trailing for that man to continue to step up to the plate and give some sort of a fighting chance for M80 on the attack side. We mentioned it before. This is M80's compositional change going onto this map. They should be more comfortable on the attack side because of this Neon. And we've seen these type of scorelines before that ended up in overtime. That ended up into a full run on the attack side on the second half. I'm not going to count my losses yet here as an M80 player, a viewer.
Drone going out.
Certainly not over yet. Never is for a team like this. As they stack up and head down the A lane, where BCJ's ready to intercept. Same position that Oki was left in on the pistol that left M80 so vulnerable previously, but the stack is prepped this time for Shopify. They're ready to fight for this. And the fault line does not catch BCJ. A lot of multitasking for the recon bolt to get covered, and it still catches all of these members. A lot of time that they can utilize, but M80 going to toss a lot of util into this Owl drone to try and get some more information, and they'll get scared away from this.
Just because of that smoke too. And good for Shopify Rebellion on the other side. They didn't really want to burn out that flash yet from Monsi, so they could actually keep that into a post-plant retake. This is what we were talking about before. You're leading a 4-1 setup, right? You're leading more towards the A side hold. You're giving up the C site. As the camera gets broken, it's fine. You just got to hold the angles to make sure you're not being pushed towards B and garage.
30 seconds
And that's the play you want.
There.
Look at him stay towards the spawn. Look at the rotate coming through from Shopify Rebellion. And now they can start using util to fight back. But I love the repush from M80 back into the garage.
Yeah, huge ball coming up the window. Pancakes can manage only one. Paint, nice flick to find a second. And that'll actually intimidate them all the way out. Paint first approach, throws his body for a trade-off, and Shopify should be able to collapse from here. Indeed they can. All is well for the potential continued stomp here on Haven, 11-2.
Look at that too. Just small micro things. Monsi going for the jiggle peek so that when the player chases after him, surprise, BCJ's the one holding the angle behind. And then you'll have Monsi swing back out to guarantee the trade. Again, just small little protocols and fundamentals that looks night and day in terms of the performances of Shopify Rebellion at the beginning of this stage. Not to take anything away here from M80, because M80, ever since Sato joined into the roster, they've been popping off as well on the upswing, even getting a victory upset against Envy in the upper bracket round 1, where Okeanos was popping off as well, where Sato was able to get that space. You have your young fraggers coming through to be able to capitalize wins for M80 side. But now it's back into the storyline of the playbook with Shopify Rebellion just shutting down the top to the end. Anchors cannot work. Splits cannot work. Execution stuffed. But this is a great learning experience here for M80
30 seconds.
to at least get this early in the upper bracket so they can learn better here in their lower bracket run. I'm going to say it, potentially lower bracket run.
That was what I was expecting with M80 in the first place. I thought that they were gonna lose to Envy and then have that Cinderella run all the way back to GFs. But to lose like this to Shopify, it was certainly not in the cards for me, and I'm certain a whole lot of other people too. But I mean, looking like dominant performances in 2 of the 3 maps here, looking like one of the strongest pools we've seen in the bracket so far. The power rankings for this Shopify squad are shooting up by the thousands after this match.
Definitely, and now a forced buyout from M80. Just trying to gamble at least a flash control in the front of the A site, but you see the pings coming through. They could actually counter back with a fault line from the A link off that attempt, so he could help out Spaz just in the back. Fault line's being lined up, but nobody's pushing after. So this was a fake to start, and it's already read by Shopify. So nobody's really over-rotating, and they're watching towards the front side hit of B.
Yeah, just bear hugging whatever Shopify decide to throw at this so far, and Okeanos will stick around just to try and stave off Shopify a little bit longer. It'll work pretty damn well too. Smoke out on Garage, and that'll be the first sign that Pancakes is no longer alone. But that's the thing about these neon comps, it's usually all too late for that. Sato will spot the trap wire and just try and slide right past it. Gets yoinked on back, and Pancakes finds the shot.
Shots.
No coverage from M80, but they're still on site.
30 seconds left.
They've lost so much though with Sato dying first. Again, trying to re-hit. There's another trip in there. Thankfully, it's heard, and we're not going to push forward. Oh, wait, we just did.
Oh, yeah, that's caught. So now Shopify aware of how condensed this is, but they still can't necessarily fight that if Caillou is popping off like this! And he covers long enough for Okeanos too! But Pancake's still around, not prepared for B-Dog, but he misses the shots! The 1v1 to potentially decide how this match could go from here. Free half for Pancakes, B-Dog swing! Pancakes! Wins it out and brings Shopify to 12-2.
Oh. And despite, I mean, it was already known where B-Dog was at because he hit that trip in the very beginning. And the reason why I gasped is because he gets hit by the trip. He can get wallbanged. And thankfully, there's no big armor pen weapons in that round outside of the Outlaw that could really punish them. So he was able to stay alive. Plays a 1v1, but it's 2 veterans in the scene in Challengers. Between those 2, it was taken over by Pancakes against B-Dog after all. And now it's Shopify Rebellion at map and series points.
M80 immediately thrust into the throes of it. Paint slides in, doesn't need a slide to find his first frag. Sato doesn't find nearly as much luck on the rush in. And already,
Right there.
what few opportunities are left are collapsing for M80.
They've already lost all of map control with that. So you have to commit into trading out into Garage. And if you're able to do so, it's tough because you might lose a player in the process, and that's going to be a 2 versus 4 for M80.
Dumps so much into this, and Monty's going to respect it, heading back into where paint lies inside that smoke that B-Dog attempts to spray through. Timing impeccable upon that paranoia. But now wrap around from the lane to get two. And M80 does find a semblance of map control momentarily, turning into that C-site presence again. 2v3 for this retake.
Timing too, the drone's gonna see him, the drop potentially from Pancakes.
One enemy
They
remaining.
get ahead of it. One down, Bow for the potential ace to save this, but he's crunched. No goose eggs for this match, but certainly pretty damn close on two of the maps. Shopify Rebellion Black have one of their
Defenders
best
win.
performances in Challengers history here against M80 in the winter semis.
Definitely, and again, even in their last game against Blue Otter, I thought it was gonna be like, okay, well, they've looked amazing, and they should cool down a little bit, especially against a team like M80. One of the favorites, again, to move into Ascension and potentially even move up to partnership. But Shopify Rebellion Black, with another revamp of a roster on their side moving into this season, has proven now, that they are definitely a top contender, if not the top contender now, outside of potentially Envy, to make it into Ascension now. So this is, again, once we got into the playoffs 10 rec, they've been amazing games so far.
Sure thing, and we're not done with them yet. Shopify Rebellion now stands sitting to play the winner of whatever match we're playing up against next. Winthrop versus Qbert Academy coming up after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
Spike planted. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. 30 seconds. Last player. One enemy remaining. Spike down. One enemy. Enemy down. One enemy remaining. Take it out. Go away. Go, go. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. Spike planted. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. 30 seconds. Last player